You're listening to Cosmic Cousins Soul-Centered Astrology. For ground in that ass, from all the New Age sass. I am your host, Jeff Henshaw. Cosmic Cousins is a bi-monthly astrology podcast. It's released on every new and full moon, and it's dedicated to honoring the interconnectedness of our universal family through embodied health, self-discovery, and deeper learning.
Say his name! George Floyd! 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 Say his name!
This clip was sent in to us from a friend that is protesting in Portland, and this episode is dedicated to the global protests that we're seeing going on in the world right now. And for those of you who are partaking in these protests, I hope you're staying safe. And for those of you who are not, I hope this episode allows you some deeper insight into the energy of these times. Due to our current world events and the wrongful murder of George Floyd and many others, it's important to state right out that the Cosmic Cousins community supports Black Lives Matters and stands in solidarity against racial injustice and police violence. In accordance with the Amplify Melanated Voices Challenge, I have not been posting any original content to Instagram this week, and instead I've been sharing work and information from Black, Indigenous, and people of color activists and healers who are speaking directly from their lived experience. So if you are seeking any resources on ways to be more involved with racial justice at this time, I encourage you to visit the story archives on my Instagram for more information. And so here we are, we're at the Sagittarius full moon lunar eclipse, and we've been fielding this build up throughout eclipse season. This eclipse season is unique in that we have 3 eclipses. This is the first of 3. And eclipse season, from my practice, starts 2 weeks before the first eclipse. So we actually started eclipse season 2 weeks ago on the Gemini new moon. And so since we have 3 eclipses this year for this eclipse season, we're actually going 2 months from that date all the way until the Cancer new moon in July, which is on, I believe, July 20th. Let me double check that. Yes, on July 20th. So we have this 2-month period of eclipse. And so eclipse energy, it offers us a time of heightened emotional awareness. This is the time when opportunities for exponential growth and evolution occur. So during this portal, it often feels like life is moving at a much more rapid pace. Sudden new insights into the world around us come flooding through. It gives us this extra encouragement to release outdated modes of existence that are no longer in alignment with the evolution of our planet. So simultaneously, with this deep release, the energy available to us offers us an equal opportunity to push us toward expanding beyond our comfort zone. So during Gemini season, right, this 30-day period, we become very conscious, which is the sun of Gemini themes. So we're becoming conscious of contradiction within our immediate surroundings. And as we're building up to the Sagittarius full moon, which, by the way, is in a few hours from when I'm recording this, the Sagittarius full moon is June 5th, 2020 at 12:12 p.m. on the Pacific coast of the United States. So the Sagittarius full moon, what it's doing is it's seeking to balance the duality of Gemini. So all signs evolve through their polar sign. Sagittarius is here to teach Gemini a lesson. So the Sagittarius full moon is asking us, within the duality of Gemini, how can we expand our perception of reality? This is Sagittarius. How can we expand our perception of reality to include the entire global stratosphere? So it's about the collective vision. This is Sagittarius. It's about the world at large. So what started out as a protest in the Twin Cities, right? Gemini is the twins, has now sparked a revolution around the world. Sagittarius, the world traveler. And so far, all 50 states plus 18 countries have participated in the Black Lives Matter protest, and it's making it the largest civil rights movement in the world to date. Happy Sagittarius Lunar Eclipse. So this particular Sagittarius lunar eclipse, it starts off a 1.5 year cycle of eclipses along the Gemini and Sagittarius axis. So the last 1.5 years, we've had eclipses in the Cancer Capricorn energy. We've been going towards home and family Cancer while releasing outdated energy around Capricorn, government, environment, patriarchy. And we still have one more Cancer and Capricorn eclipse in this eclipse season, so we're not finished with those themes quite yet, but this is the first in a new cycle of Sagittarius Gemini eclipses. And so the last time we experienced this axis of Gemini North Node, Sagittarius South Node, this was during the September 11th, 2001 attacks on the World Trade Center. Again, the Twin Towers, Gemini the twins, World Trade Center, Sagittarius, the world at large. And so this invites us back to themes of this time period. So you can think back to what was going on in 2001 for you. So something I've noticed is the United States police force acquired military-grade equipment because of the terrorist attacks of 9/11. And now we're revisiting this theme. There's a lot of discussion about how arming our police with more weapons has led to more violence against Americans. So we're returning to that story. And so as the first Sagittarius eclipse in this series of eclipses, this first eclipse, it offers us a clue into the themes that will carry us through to the end of 2021. And so this is fateful realignments are occurring along this Sagittarius and Gemini axis. So this shifts the usual, and I'm saying usual in quotes, the usual invitation of the Sagittarius full moon. Normally the Sagittarius full moon is like, let's focus on the big picture. Let's think about world travel, and let's expand the horizons of our mind. We have that. But since it is the Sagittarius South Node is what we are releasing. It's where we're coming from. It indicates outdated patterns. So this is a major opportunity for all of us to release outdated Sagittarian energy. And we're going to be doing that again for the next 1.5 years. And so with the South Node in Sagittarius, the South Node, it has this pull to it. It can kind of draw us in. It almost feels like a black hole in some ways, the South Node. And so with this Sagittarius South Node, we may feel this innate draw or pull into the shadow of the Sagittarian archetype. So let's talk about that. What are the lower manifestations of Sagittarius? Sagittarius, fire sign, mutable fire, the great changing fire energy. So Sagittarius in a lower form, it can be heated, argumentative, ignorant to others' worldviews. So at this time, we may experience individuals exuding low-form Sagittarian traits, especially during the Sagittarius lunar eclipse. So we can expect aggressive tendencies, restlessness, erratic behavior, and even violence. So we may even exude these qualities within ourself. So take a moment to just acknowledge that. It's a very argumentative energy. So if you're trying to talk to your parents, for instance, about your beliefs and your worldviews, it could bring up this lower form of Sagittarius, or maybe you experience that from them, right? So ignorance is this lower form of Sagittarius, which is interesting because the higher form of Sagittarius is about open mind, open to all worldviews. So we see this axis here. So be mindful of your anger. If you feel your blood boiling, come back to mindfulness through your breath. come back to Gemini, your immediate surroundings. Gemini is the air, right? Breath. So just breathing into your body. And we can do that right now and just take a moment. Sagittarius rules over the hips and the thighs. And so you can take a deep breath into these parts of the body. And just acknowledging that. So Sagittarius also rules over religion and philosophy and higher education. So many people during this Sagittarius South Node may find themselves falling into these outdated, dogmatic, religious, and worldviews, while we also have the opportunity to clear out old limiting beliefs around these themes. So if you're coming from a religious perspective, this is not the time to push your agenda. Now is not the time to preach. This is Sagittarius South Node. So if you've also received an education from an institution of higher learning, Sagittarius South Node is saying, okay, how are you going towards Gemini? How are you utilizing your degree to further advance your neighborhood? To further advance your immediate surroundings toward greater social understanding, greater social change. Gemini, social, air, mutable, change, right? So Sagittarius is the archer, and this is an energy that is optimistic and idealistic. The archer is aiming its arrow towards a uniting philosophical or spiritual goal. However, the Sagittarius South Node indicates a heavy pull towards blind idealism and what we could call as spiritual bypassing. So what is spiritual bypassing? For me, when I think about spiritual bypassing, I think of the crown chakra. And so if you have an excess energy in the crown chakra, it means you're focusing all of your energy up here and you're bypassing the lower chakra centers. So you're not in your body, you're not connected to your sexuality, and there's a focus on these higher upper crown chakra energies. And so this is when it's all love and light. And we're not talking about the actual root of what's going on, people's bodies being killed, So this can be problematic as it does not address the facts presented within one's immediate surroundings. This is Gemini, is presenting the facts in your neighborhood. So I've witnessed this lower form Sagittarian trait by observing white New Age spiritualists posting pictures of themselves at a waterfall with their crystals, while in reality, the world around us is showing up to protest racial discrimination and police brutality for social change. So be mindful of these tendencies within your own life. Gemini North Node is encouraging us to look in the mirror at ourselves, our own twin, our own shadow, and acknowledge how we might be falling into Sagittarius in a lower form. Sagittarius is connected to world travel and global affairs. So with a global pandemic as a backdrop to global riots, we also are looking at what else is going on in the world. So we may find new information or evolutions reveal itself in relationship to COVID-19, and particularly on the next two eclipses. I'm imagining on the Cancer new moon, it's about self-care and home. And then the Capricorn full moon eclipse in July, that's July 5th, is going to reveal things around government and the environment and policy. So again, Sagittarius being connected to world travel. With the South Node in Sagittarius, we can expect major changes and releases with global affairs and travel. If we think back to this access in 2001 with the attack on the World Trade Centers, there was definitely a major release around world travel. And so on a very literal level, the Sagittarius South Node indicates little to no world or long-term travel. And this is more of an emphasis on Gemini, which is short-term, immediate travel. Walking in your neighborhood, going on a 1 hour road trip to the beach, whatever that is, this is more of the short-term travel, right, for the Gemini North Node. And so it's a time for you to get to know your immediate surroundings. So I'm hoping that the Sagittarius South Node will finally encourage us to release outdated energy that we have as a collective towards air pollution and frivolous travel. I don't think anyone should be traveling the world more than 2 times a year. Me even stating that right there is probably me falling into the Sagittarius South node, because it's not even relevant to what's going on in our neighborhoods right now. So continue to meditate on the Gemini North node. We can look to the United States to see how is this lunar eclipse affecting the United States. So we can pull up the birth chart, which I did. So for the United States, this Gemini Sagittarius axis is important. So using July 4th, 1776 as the birthday and 4:50 p.m. as the birth time, this makes the USA a Sagittarius rising, right? So we're releasing Sagittarius right now. So we're releasing our rising potential as a nation. And then there's Uranus and Mars and Gemini on the other side of the wheel in the 7th house. Uranus, revolution, radical change. Mars, action, ambition, activism. So as a nation, the U.S. is encouraged in a fateful direction, North Node and Gemini, towards radical change, Uranus, and activism, Mars. And particularly as it relates to duality, Gemini, and the other, 7th house. We're seeing all of these themes come out into play. So this duality is reflected in issues arising around racial divides. This duality we feel within our political party lines. But beyond that, there is a split that's not even around just Democrat versus Republican. It is now feeling even more like a split between socialism versus capitalism. So the goal of Gemini is to build bridges between duality through intellectual stimulation and change, social change. So the United States does this. When looking at its birth chart, the United States does this Gemini work through collaboration and partnership, 7th house, in a radical and active way. Interestingly enough, the United States President Donald Trump also has major energy along this astrological axis too. Donald Trump is a Gemini sun with a Sagittarius moon, and so his energy is getting hit up over the next year and a half. So this indicates a year and a half of major eclipse change for the nation's 45th president. So the Sagittarius solar eclipse this December is at the 23rd degree, and Donald Trump's sun is at the 22nd degree of Gemini, and his moon is at the 21st degree of Sagittarius. So this eclipse line coming up in December is hitting right on his energy. In ancient astrology, astrologers would look to a nation's leader to determine the fate and karma of its people. So we can also look to Donald Trump's birth chart to understand the energy of the United States. So the eclipse this December, it indicates the fate and karma of the United States. This eclipse this December, it indicates this culmination of a deep karmic release, perhaps for the president, such as impeachment, or a deep karmic release for the nation and its people. So this eclipse, the reason I'm bringing that up is because it really struck me when I saw the degree axis of Donald Trump's chart. And so this eclipse season right now is at the 15th degree of Sagittarius and Gemini. And so this eclipse season right now is offering us some clues around changes that we might see in leadership in the United States. And so for the US and for the whole world, the Gemini North Node is continually beckoning us toward building bridges between duality. So this is encouraging white people to listen to the viewpoints of Black, Indigenous, and people of color. For those individuals who have experienced discrimination because of racism, this Gemini North Node is encouraging you to speak up, to write, and to share your point of view. And for those individuals who have not, the Gemini North Node asks you to acknowledge this through reading, journaling, discussion, education, and learning. But it's important to remember that there is this pull towards the South Node in Sagittarius, so you might experience people falling into know-it-all tendencies, or anger, or aggression, or into their religion or beliefs. But it's Gemini North Node, it's the continuing of writing, speaking, educating. Another aspect that is really major to consider for this Sagittarius lunar eclipse is that Mars is in Pisces right now. Mars is in Pisces at the 15th degree, forming an exact T-square with the Gemini Sun at the 15th degree and the Sagittarius Moon at the 15th degree. So when two or more planets form a 90-degree angle, this is called a square or a T-square, and so this is exact here. And so this type of aspect is considered to be full of tension when planets square. But that tension, to me, it feels like almost like a business meeting, like you're sitting down and you're like making an agreement with the other person. We want to talk these things out because there's potential for a major breakthrough with this energy, and we're feeling it right now. When planets form a T-square, it indicates that they share modality. So all three of these placements, Gemini, Sagittarius, and Pisces, are all mutable energy. And so this mutable signs are about change and adaptability. So there is a meeting of Mars, Sun, and Moon about changing. So Mars and Pisces, right? So Mars is the planet of what I like to call divine action. It rules over things like activism, our physical activity, our birthrights, our ambition. And so when it's in the sign of Pisces, Pisces is a sign of universal compassion. Pisces is about peace. It's about the end of karmic cycles. I think that one's really big. To have Mars and Pisces, we're pushing through with our activism for the end of a karmic cycle. And so Pisces is a collective water sign. Pisces connects us to its collective water. So it's the emotions of groups and people. So we're taking action around what the entire group is feeling. It's not about your own personal feelings. In Pisces energy, it's about the group. So we feel this. This is reflected in the peaceful protesting taking place, literally peaceful Pisces protesting Mars. While also there's a deep well of emotion that has been building for centuries, right? Pisces is this like collective water that has been building, and it's coming to a head right now as Mars is in Pisces. I sometimes like to use the zodiac queens to visualize these placements. So if you're new to the show, we worked on a project last year called Zodiac Queens, and we crowned a important legendary figure for each astrological sign. And so our queen of Pisces is Nina Simone. And so Mars is the activist. So this is the activist side of Nina Simone. This is Mars is anger. This is the angry side of Nina Simone. So this is like, when we think of Nina Simone and also just Pisces energy of like the ocean, this is like tidal waves of emotion coming through and crashing for great change, mutable water, right? So with Pisces Mars forming a square with Gemini Sun, this creates an atmosphere for tension, square, with words and communication. So the deep things that we're feeling and taking action around is coming up to tension with the information we're receiving. Is the news, Gemini rules over the news and broadcasting, sharing accurate information with us. Mars and Pisces, the collective emotion is rising up, squaring Gemini Sun, but the news isn't portraying it accurately. Right now, we have social media, which is one of our greatest tools at this time. And so being tapped into your own choice of media source, this is starting to get us into the Aquarian energy. Saturn's in Aquarius right now. And there's going to be more of that to come. Saturn, responsibility, Aquarius, the collective humanity. We're taking responsibility for humanity right now through technology, using social media like an adult. That's something I've been saying all year. So the information we're receiving around duality, Gemini Sun, it's coming up to a standoff square with the action we are ready to take for deep karmic release and peace. So we have that square, but then Pisces Mars is also squaring the Sagittarius full moon lunar eclipse. So there's a sudden spark of realization here. Sagittarius is the great buyers of change. And when it's the moon, it's the deep desire for something. So it's a deep desire for an expansive, uniting vision. But it's an eclipse, so it's like sudden realizations. So this is forming tension with the deeply emotional and spiritual warrior energy of the Pisces moon. So lots of energies going on right now. So for Pisces, we breathe into the water in the body. For Sagittarius, we breathe into the thighs. And for Gemini, we breathe into the hands. And so we're acknowledging this to just ground the energy here. Let's touch base, finally. We've been talking about this axis of Gemini and Sagittarius. We've been talking more about the Sagittarius South Node. So let's talk about the Gemini North Node just to reorient ourselves. So with the North Node in Gemini, this is the direction we are heading for evolution over the next year and a half. So although we have this Sagittarius lunar eclipse, we're reminded to reorient toward Gemini. For some, this may have us focusing on the children in our lives and their education. Gemini rules over preschool to 12th grade, pre-K to 12th grade, early education. That could be your Gemini North Node work. For the others of us, it could be working on writing and sharing information and learning, taking in information. Others of us may be utilizing our multitasking skills to organize within our neighborhoods. I mean, this Gemini energy, there's a lot of options for us, and actually, you might be doing all of these things. So look at the Gemini Sagittarius axis in your own birth chart. This will help offer you clues into how this energy might manifest for you, and particularly at the 15th degree of Gemini and Sagittarius, and also of Pisces and Virgo, the other two mutable signs. This will indicate what this eclipse is about for you. So for me, in my own chart, I have Chiron in Gemini at the 15th degree. This eclipse is hitting it up. And then I've got Saturn in Sagittarius at the 19th degree, which is an orb. If it's within 5 degrees, you can also work with that energy. So for me, I am going towards Chiron. Deep wounds and healing around Gemini themes. I'm definitely feeling it coming up as I'm learning right now. I'm learning what it means for me to not post on Instagram for a week and learn from other people. Gemini wants us to learn from the other. So, and it's bringing up deep wounds, right? And I'm healing those. But also the Chiron and Gemini siblings too. I'm bringing healing to communication with my brother and my sister-in-law, and we're creating dialogue around how we can better educate their children, which is my nieces and nephews, or my nephew and nieces. And so Gemini it rules over nephews, nieces, cousins, like extended family members, siblings, whereas Cancer is like mom and dad, home, right? So that comes next. But right now, I'm definitely healing wounds that I have with communication with my siblings. I'm learning how to talk in a heart-centered way with them. Whereas the polar sign, Sagittarius, I have Saturn in Sagittarius. There's obstacles around our worldviews. My brother is very Christian and does not believe in astrology. So we don't have this philosophy that unites us. But that's okay because we're releasing that and going towards the healing with words in our immediate surroundings. Chiron, Gemini, is getting hit up in my own chart. So look and see. So if you would like help reflecting on this from an esoteric, soul-centered astrological perspective, I would be honored to connect with you through a deep dive astrological reading. I have links in the show notes that you can check out to sign up for a reading. So I'm going to end us on some questions for reflection for this Sagittarius full moon lunar eclipse. How might we call upon Sagittarius to help us aim, right, the archer? How might we call upon Sagittarius to help us aim in a conscious direction towards hope for the future? I'll share something that I like. For me, Sagittarius is like my yoga practice. It's like the degrees I have in school. How am I utilizing that to aim in a conscious direction towards hope for the future? So it's utilizing whatever epic journeys you've been on, Sagittarius, wherever you've traveled in the world, whatever you have accrued through faith and wisdom to bring it towards Gemini. So how are we using this fuel of Sagittarius to activate the Gemini North Node? All right. So, how are we swiftly adapting to our ever changing immediate surroundings, Gemini? By connecting to our neighborhood through social engagement. How are you staying informed and connected at this time? It's not a time to retreat into these epic journeys of self-discovery, Sagittarius. It's about engaging with your community. So how might you stay better informed and connected? Gemini is reminding us to do this, and particularly with the goal to build bridges between duality. So if you have a spiritual practice, Sagittarius, how are you directing it towards your neighborhood? How are you utilizing your Sagittarian philosophies to build bridges of greater understanding within your immediate surroundings? That's all I have for you today. Thank you as always for signing in and listening to the show. My name is Jeff Henshaw. I am an astrologer. I offer 2-hour astrology readings. You can find that information out at cosmiccousins.com. I purchased it this week. It was astrologycousins.com. I've been trying for 3 years to get this handle, and for some reason I just happened to check it this week and it opened back up. The person was trying to sell it to me for like $3,000, but now I have cosmiccousins.com. So you can go there, check it out. If you found this episode helpful, you could send it to a friend or a loved one. You could leave some comments in love. And happy Sagittarius full moon to you. Lunar eclipse, sending blessings your way. And I'll see you next time. I think the new format that we're going to do for me that's working right now is meeting every new and full moon. And so I'll see you in 2 weeks. So take sweet care, cousins, and remember, deep breaths.